They say it's not a person's face you remember most in the end, it's their words. And for the beloved actress Danielle Spencer, the unforgettable D from What's Happening. Those final words to her longtime co-stars were nothing short of chilling. In her last moments with the people she had worked beside for years, Danielle didn't simply say goodbye. She left behind a haunting message that exposed decades of pain, betrayal, and secrets no one had dared to bring to light until now. Danielle Spencer wasn't merely a sitcom star. She became part of our childhoods as the sharp-tongued, quick-witted little sister on What's Happening. Week after week, she brought laughter and joy to millions. But beyond the jokes and applause, Danielle's real life was shaped by heartbreak, determination, and an unbreakable connection to her cast, a bond that would be tested in ways fans could never have imagined. In this video, we're going to explore the full story behind Danielle Spencer's final exchange with her co-stars. According to those who were there, it carried a bittersweet mix of love, disappointment, and closure. We'll revisit the highs and lows of her career, the personal battles she fought quietly, and the unseen pressures of Hollywood that influenced those last moments with the people who knew her best. And believe me, the truth runs much deeper than the headlines let on. The words she left behind weren't just emotional, they hinted at long-buried on-set secrets, fractured friendships, and the hidden cost of fame no one dares to discuss. So buckle in, because what you're about to hear will forever change the way you think of Danielle Spencer. Danielle Spencer's life began almost like the plot of a Hollywood movie, except this was no script. It was her reality. Born June 24, 1965, in Trenton, New Jersey, Danielle was raised in a home that valued education, discipline, and hard work. Her father, actor Tim P. Spencer, had deep roots in the entertainment world, while her mother, a woman of grace and unwavering determination, nurtured in Danielle a strong sense of self from a very young age. Still, her childhood wasn't all bright lights and golden opportunities. The family faced its share of hardships, including her parents' separation, a split that left Danielle moving between two very different worlds, one grounded in the struggles of everyday life, and the other sparkling with the allure of show business. Her big break arrived in the mid-1970s, when producers for a brand new sitcom called What's Happening began searching for a young actress to play Dee Thomas, the clever, sharp-tongued little sister of the show's main character, Raj. At only 11 years old, Danielle auditioned for the role, bringing with her a natural comedic instinct and a sass-filled charm that audiences would never forget.
She wasn't simply reciting lines, she was inhabiting the role. Her razor-sharp wit and perfectly timed deadpan delivery balanced the show's warm, feel-good humor in just the right way. It didn't take long before Dee became one of television's most cherished characters. Viewers tuned in each week not only for the heartwarming moments, but for Dee's cutting one-liners, which often stole the spotlight entirely. But with success came its own unique set of hurdles. As a young actress in the 1970s, Danielle found herself thrown into a world of grueling production schedules, relentless media attention, and the unspoken expectation to maintain an impeccable public image. While kids her age were enjoying school dances and playing on the swings, Danielle was memorizing lines, performing under blazing studio lights, and learning how to field questions from reporters before she'd even reached her teenage years. The cast had become a second family to her. She developed a special bond with co-stars Ernest Thomas, Raj Haywood, Nelson Duane, and Fred Berry. Rerun. They protected her like older brothers. Yet, like any family, there were occasional disagreements, growing pains, and moments that would leave lasting marks. At that age, Danielle couldn't have imagined that this show would not only define her professional path but also deeply influence her personal connections for years to come. Those same relationships would one day serve as the backdrop for her emotional parting words decades later. Because while audiences saw constant smiles and laughter on screen, the truth was far more layered. The roots of what Danielle would eventually confess to her co-stars were quietly sown in those early days on set. And here's where the story takes a turn, because after the cameras stopped rolling, Danielle's life moved in directions no one, not even her closest friends from the show, could have foreseen. By 1979, Danielle Spencer was still only a teenager, yet she had already experienced more of the entertainment industry than many adults ever would. For countless child stars, the end of a hit show can feel both liberating and crushing. Liberation comes from stepping away from the blinding spotlight and finally getting a taste of a normal life. The crushing part, however, is the harsh reality that Hollywood rarely knows what to do with child actors as they grow older. For Danielle, it was a double-edged sword. She loved performing, yet she longed for stability and a sense of identity beyond D. So when the series wrapped, she made the choice to focus on her education, a move that surprised many fans who expected her to leap straight into more acting roles. But Danielle wasn't in pursuit of more fame. She was searching for something authentic and grounding. Still, the entertainment world hadn't closed its chapter on her just yet. In 1985, producers decided to breathe new life into the sitcom with a sequel, What's Happening Now? Danielle stepped back into the role of Dee, this time as a college student, much to the delight of viewers eager to see a grown-up version of the character they'd adored for years. The revival reignited Danielle's public visibility, but it also resurrected the familiar pressures, marathon filming days, public events, and the constant comparisons to her younger self. And while her co-stars still felt like extended family, the dynamics between them were shifting. Fame had altered some of them, and life's experiences had inevitably changed the way they related to one another. Beyond the studio lights, Danielle was fighting battles the public never witnessed. After the sequel series came to an end in 1988, she made a bold choice, stepping away from acting entirely. Instead, she decided to follow a lifelong passion she had quietly carried since childhood: veterinary medicine. The move stunned many. In the industry, it spoke volumes about Danielle's resolve to build a life defined on her own terms. She went on to graduate from the Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Medicine, establishing a thriving career as a veterinarian. Yet, even as her professional life flourished, personal challenges cast long shadows. In 2004, Danielle was involved in a serious car accident that resulted in a spinal cord injury. The crash was devastating, leaving her with partial paralysis for a time. Her road to recovery was grueling, physically exhausting, and emotionally taxing. Still, she fought her way back with the same determination she displayed since her early acting days. Friends and former castmates admired her incredible resilience, but those who knew her best understood that the accident had left scars far deeper than the physical ones. It altered the way she saw life. In interviews years later, Danielle admitted that the ordeal forced her to reevaluate her relationships, career path, and even her own mortality. She began reflecting more deeply on the people she had grown up alongside on set, the moments they'd shared, and the unresolved emotions that had quietly lingered for decades. Though she eventually healed enough to return to her veterinary practice, the emotional weight of those memories never truly left her. It was during this season of introspection that Danielle began forming the words she would one day speak to her co-stars, words that would finally reveal how she truly felt about their shared history. But before she could voice them, another tragedy struck, one that would reunite her and her castmates under circumstances none of them had wished for. For years, Danielle Spencer had kept a comfortable distance from the public spotlight, focusing instead on her veterinary work and personal life. Still, no matter how busy she became, her connection to the What's Happening family was never entirely severed. Over the decades, the cast would come together again for conventions, nostalgic TV specials, and the occasional joint interview, moments that reminded fans of the magic they had once created. Yet behind the smiles and laughter, there was an undercurrent, a mix of warm nostalgia and quiet, unspoken tension. The bonds were genuine, but so were the complicated emotions. Years of shared history, unresolved disagreements, and unspoken grievances remained just beneath the surface. The true turning point came in 2003, with the sudden death of Fred Berry rerun due to health complications. His passing was a shock to both the cast and the fans. Fred had been a larger-than-life figure, on-screen and off, and his absence left a heavy void. Danielle, along with Ernest Thomas and Haywood Nelson, came together to honor him at a memorial service. That day, those who were close to her say Danielle seemed more contemplative than ever. They recall her standing quietly near the edge of the crowd, watching as old photos of Fred flickered across a big screen. Her expression was a mixture of grief and deep thought. Watching those images of herself and her co-stars in their younger days, frozen in time, stirred a flood of memories, both sweet and bittersweet. In that moment, some say she came to a quiet realization about how limited their time together truly was. Once they had all been so young, their entire future stretched ahead of them. But now, years had passed, and the reality of aging, illness, and mortality had begun to sink. In the years after Fred's passing, Danielle's own health struggles persisted. She underwent several surgeries connected to her spinal cord injury and later faced yet another life-altering challenge, a diagnosis of breast cancer. The battle was grueling, filled with surgeries and treatments that drained her both physically and emotionally. Yet, once again, she fought with remarkable courage. During her recovery, Danielle often reconnected with her former castmates through phone calls and in-person visits. These moments brought laughter and comfort, but they also stirred up old wounds. The truth was, there were things Danielle had never spoken aloud to them, things about how she'd been treated as a child on set, how fame had altered the dynamics of their friendships, and how deeply she appreciated the times when they had truly stood by her. By the late 2000s and early 2010s, Danielle's outlook had shifted entirely. She no longer felt any reason to hide her feelings or keep up appearances. She had survived too much, near-death experiences, life-changing injuries, and serious illness to let important words go unsaid. So when another cast reunion was planned, this time in a smaller, more personal setting, Danielle came prepared. She didn't want to just smile for photos and reminisce about old episodes. She wanted to speak her truth, to make sure there was no doubt about how she felt toward the people she had grown up with on screen. Those close to her say she even rehearsed her words in her head, making sure they would be both heartfelt and honest. She couldn't be certain it would be the last time they'd all be together, but something in her gut told her to speak. As if it were, what Danielle said that day didn't just surprise her co-stars, it left them visibly shaken. But before we can get to those powerful words, we have to understand the weight behind them. And that means looking closely at the personal pain Danielle carried for decades. Pain the public never saw. To truly comprehend the depth of Danielle Spencer's final words, you need to step back and see the loss she'd endured for most of her life. It wasn't something obvious to the fans who only knew her as the bright, cheerful young actress from television. From the very start, Danielle's story was touched by tragedy. At just 5 years old, she faced the devastating loss of her father, actor Tim P. Spencer, in a car accident. It became a defining moment in her early life, one that left her with an emptiness she often described as impossible to fill. Though her mother raised her with love and unwavering determination, Danielle always felt the absence of her father's presence, especially as she entered her teenage years. She revealed that there were times when she felt like nothing more than the kid on set, rather than an equal part of the team. Even though millions adored her character, she told them softly, "You all were my family." Her voice wavered as she added, "But sometimes I felt invisible, and I never said it out loud because I didn't want to ruin what we had." Holding onto that unspoken truth had caused her pain. Her co-stars listened in silence, some with tears welling in their eyes. No one interrupted. Danielle's words were both a release and a gift, an honest truth wrapped in love. Then came the part that would stay with them forever. "If this is the last time we're all in the same room," she said, "I want you to know that I love you. I forgive the moments that hurt me, and I hope you can forgive me for the times I pulled away. What we made together will outlive all of us. That's the gift. That's the legacy." When she finished, the room went still. Some reached out for her hands, while others could only nod, their throats too tight to speak. Danielle had finally let go of decades of unspoken emotions, and in doing so, gave them a sense of closure rare in this industry. In the months that followed, Danielle's health declined. She passed away surrounded by loved ones, her words from that reunion echoing in the minds and hearts of her co-stars. When Ernest Thomas later spoke about her in an interview, his voice trembled. "She told us everything she needed to," he said. "She left nothing unsaid, and maybe that's the most powerful part of her story." Danielle Spencer's final words weren't about regret, they were about release, about healing, about finally telling the truth to the people who mattered most. For fans, the image of Dee will forever be that of the witty, fearless little sister who could outsmart anyone. But for those who truly knew her, her legacy will also be the bravery it took to face her past, speak her truth, and leave behind not just memories, but understanding. Because in the end, Danielle's greatest gift wasn't her television role. It was her ability to remind us that it's never too late to speak what's in your heart. Her story is a powerful reminder that the people who make us laugh on screen are often fighting battles we never see. Her last words to her co-stars weren't just for them. They were a message to all of us. Cherish the time you have and never let important words go unsaid. If Danielle's story has touched you, share this video so more people can remember her, not only as Dee from What's Happening, but as a woman of honesty, courage, and grace. And if there's someone in your life you need to reach out, don't wait. Pick up the phone today. Be sure to like this video, subscribe for more stories about the people behind the headlines, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.